Hello to all dear Manhwa lovers. I hope you're having an amazing day. Before we begin, I want to send a very special shout out to those who left comments on the previous video. A huge hug and a special greeting to Patrice Joseph 5906, who managed to leave the first comment on the last video. You're the fastest of them all. Thank you so much. Now, without further ado, let's dive into this incredible summary. While Choi was admiring Kim, he was surprised to notice that she wasn't wearing her glasses, which seemed quite strange to him. This increased his curiosity about whether the beauty account really belonged to Kim. Despite being surrounded by people, Choi proposed to Kim that they talk somewhere else, and she agreed. He led her to the cafeteria, causing amazement among their classmates due to Kim's impressive presence. Although they didn't know if she was Choi's girlfriend, their classmates showed more interest in their relationship than anything else. This situation caught the attention of someone else who had overheard them. Meanwhile, Choi guided Kim to a quieter place. She asked what he wanted to talk about, and a nervous Choi struggled to find the right way to express himself, frustrated at the thought that any word could put him in an awkward situation. Despite his doubts, he decided to ask directly if she was the owner of the beauty account, then tried to disguise the question as a joke to avoid seeming too serious. As Choi was about to reveal this to Kim, he noticed she looked visibly embarrassed, and from her expression, he understood her reaction. Although Kim tried to explain, Choi wanted to shift the focus of the conversation. He told Kim that he was the owner of the Mumu account that had sent her messages. She quickly apologized, expressing that she didn't realize she was dealing with Choi. While Choi tried to explain that this wasn't the most important thing, Kim, through tears, knew Choi was upset because he wanted to set a good example. She was willing to accept any punishment, but Choi quickly dismissed that idea, explaining that it wasn't his goal. He clarified that he was worried about her because taking such an identity seriously might lead more people to try to reveal who she was. He also pointed out the risks of encountering dangerous individuals if she were discovered. Choi began to ramble, commenting that it had been easy for him to figure out her identity at first, though he internally admitted it was more a matter of luck. He continued expressing to Kim how much he appreciated her as his junior and advised her to be more careful in the future. However, noticing she had turned away, Choi wondered if he had said something wrong, feeling uneasy. For her part, Kim was blushing, especially upon realizing that Mumu was actually her senior Choi, and not just a group moderator as she had initially thought. This realization led her to ignore him and tease him. Despite this, Choi neither criticized nor judged her as crazy, but instead showed concern for her, which excited Kim even more. When Choi asked if she was okay, Kim was so startled that she tripped. As she fell, Choi quickly moved to catch her. Luckily, Kim landed on him, but now Choi was concerned about her well-being. While Kim could only apologize to him, Choi felt even more embarrassed, realizing the strong feelings he had for the charming Kim. However, Kim thought Choi had once again saved her life. Choi noticed Kim was very attractive, but she couldn't get up due to her weight. Although Choi tried not to focus on her attractiveness at the moment, he told Kim he was sorry but couldn't move because of her weight. At that moment, they heard someone knock on the door and a voice from outside apologized, startling them both as they realized someone else was present. Choi quickly acted, saying he was changing clothes, which impressed Kim for his quick reaction. The voice from outside recognized Choi, and both he and Kim knew it was Seol-ah. Seol-ah was worried because she heard a noise as if someone had fallen. Although Choi assured her everything was fine, Seol-ah wanted to talk a bit more and mentioned that she had noticed they had been arguing lately. She wanted them to reconcile because she felt it was all her fault, and simply wanted to apologize. This embarrassed Choi and put Kim in a complicated situation, unsure of how to react. Choi was impressed by Seol-ah's willingness to take the blame, knowing how proud she usually was. Kim, for her part, began to wonder if Choi and Seol-ah were dating, but when he denied the possibility, it still left Kim deep in thought. Even though they weren't dating, they seemed very close, and it appeared to Kim that Choi was more interested in Seol-ah's words than in her, despite being physically together. This led Kim to make a determined decision. At that moment, Choi shouted, catching Seol-ah's attention, who asked why. Choi lied, saying it was because he still couldn't change his clothes. However, Kim was revealing all her feelings, which intrigued Choi. The girl wanted him to look at her and was very insistent on it, making Choi's heart race. Although Seol-ah kept asking for him, Choi told her he was busy and wanted to talk later, which upset Seol-ah, and she left. Choi waited to hear Seol-ah walk away before carrying Kim. She thought she was being treated like a princess as her heart kept racing. Choi then gently placed her on a nearby sofa, which confused Kim a little. Both were embarrassed, but Kim wanted a kiss at that moment. Choi felt pressured to do things properly and not make mistakes, as he wanted to go pray directly. This embarrassed Kim, who didn't feel uncomfortable with herself. However, for Choi, it wasn't a sign to stop, as he was already taking out the holy water. Despite Kim's beauty, Choi couldn't hold back anymore and wanted to pray together. Although Kim didn't understand Choi's actions and found the place they were in dangerous, she was also surprised by the presence of the monstrous Titan there. When they began their mass, Kim started laughing at the ceremony, finding it amusing to bow to God for the first time without having kissed first, which she found a bit strange. This also made Choi laugh as he realized Kim's words. He was surprised to hear that it was her first confession, especially when she asked why he took pictures. Kim explained that when she took pictures, everyone paid attention to her, and she thought it would catch Choi's attention, but she never imagined it would lead to her confessing. Choi realized his mistake and stammered a bit in response. Since it was Kim's first confession with him, she asked him to teach her how to kiss. These words echoed in Choi's mind, and he gave her a tender kiss, knowing he wouldn't feel guilty having the beautiful Kim beside him. As the confession continued, Choi was puzzled about how he had ended up in that situation, since he only wanted to confirm if the mysterious girl from the photos was really Kim. Kim noticed his distraction and thought it was because she was different and not like other girls. However, Choi clarified that he had met more eccentric people at university. Kim thanked him, expressing her desire for Choi to teach her more things in the future. This excited Choi even more, knowing that his junior trusted him to guide her on Christ's path. They decided to try something else for purification and continued praying to our Lord for a while longer. During their prayers, they found a mirror that caught Kim's attention. She became interested in seeing her reflection. Choi noticed this, and they began praying in front of the mirror. In a moment of distraction, Kim spilled some holy water on the mirror due to her exhaustion, so she decided to rest for a while. Meanwhile, Choi focused on cleaning the mirror. While Kim rested, she wondered if this was the Lord's word. Choi asked her again if that had been her first confession, to which she affirmed. Choi questioned whether he hadn't improved in his rituals, or if Kim had a hidden talent for religious ceremonies. Despite everything, he continued praying while Kim lay down until he finally used the holy water, splashing a bit on her in the process. After the incident with the holy water, Choi helped Kim dry her hair and apologized for what happened, but she only thought about how chivalrous Choi was. However, Choi realized he hadn't locked the door to the room they were in, so he closed it to avoid any confusion and felt relieved that no one interrupted the ceremony. At that moment, Kim asked him to lock the door properly because she wanted to keep learning more about the Bible and the Lord's Word, expressing her desire to feel her soul being purified. Choi asked again what her words meant, and though Kim was about to respond, Choi quickly sensed she wasn't satisfied with her confession. Kim immediately denied this, assuring him she had liked it very much. However, Kim knew that before starting again, she had to clean the chalice. Choi noticed how skilled Kim was, despite it being her first time doing it, as she used 2 large sponges to clean it thoroughly. She explained that she had learned this cleaning technique online and wanted to try it, which moved Choi, realizing that despite the negative criticisms of the internet, it also had positive aspects. Afterward, they continued their prayers, and for Kim to feel her soul was completely purified, Choi gave her holy water to help her achieve her goal. At that moment, they heard people walking outside in the hallway, so they quickly gathered their things to leave as soon as possible. Once outside the university, they knew it had been risky, but at least no one had caught them. However, they overheard some guys commenting on the photos the mysterious girl had uploaded, which embarrassed them both because of what they had done moments earlier. In his thoughts, Choi knew there were few people at the university who hadn't seen the photos, especially since they had just preached the word of the Lord. That's why he asked Kim why she uploaded that kind of content online, showing his curiosity about it. However, Kim didn't have a clear answer and stood still without walking next to Choi. Finally, she mentioned that she did it out of interest, as no one paid attention to her, and she was excited by the idea of receiving attention through her posts. Choi was aware that Kim would receive a lot of attention because of how beautiful she looked, but he noticed she was more nervous. This was due to the compliment she received from him. Although she was excited by the idea of receiving attention online, she was also embarrassed by the thought of excessive interest from others in person, which confused Choi. He understood that Kim liked online attention but was intrigued as to why she felt embarrassed in person. Despite everything, Kim appreciated the fact that she could have a mass with her respected Choi thanks to the internet, recognizing that not everything was bad on that platform. These reflections led Choi to question the reason behind the respect Kim had for him and what made him respectable in her eyes. He wondered if all his previous actions were motivated by the mutual respect they had for each other, and if so, he felt obligated to talk about the topic of respect with Kim. At that moment, some engineering students noticed Kim and surrounded her, surprised to recognize her as the same person they knew. This was the last straw for Choi, as there were too many people around Kim. With effort, he managed to get out of the crowd, surprised to learn that Kim was the mysterious girl and understanding why his classmates acted that way toward her because of her beauty. However, he couldn't stop thinking about the idea that the holy water used in the Mass might still be in Kim's soul. To make matters worse, Choi noticed Fifi was next to him, so he decided to leave, which made Kim feel embarrassed about it. That same afternoon, after finishing a class, Kim felt relieved about the earlier events, as she couldn't concentrate well due to all the stares. She heard some voices from girls in her class talking about how happy she looked, surrounded by guys and speculating that she wanted to become the new Seol-ah to receive favors, which they found pathetic. Despite knowing they were being overheard, Kim just wiped her tears, unable to believe they would talk about her like that knowing she was present. However, although she admired Seol-ah's personality, being compared to her didn't sit well with Kim, as she didn't like being viewed that way. Seol-ah seemed very interested and asked if it was Kim, to which she affirmed, thinking it was because she had looked at her too much. Although Seol-ah was impressed by Kim's beauty, this clearly embarrassed Kim, who returned the compliment to Seol-ah. Still, Seol-ah didn't notice that Kim's hair was messy, especially in the back. This made Kim remember the prayers, though it was something she couldn't mention. Despite that, Seol-ah offered to fix it, and Kim accepted, though she was a little confused. When Seol-ah showed her the new hairstyle, Kim was amazed. It was something she never would have thought of, but Seol-ah chose it because it highlighted Kim's beautiful face. As they walked down the hallway, Kim kept thanking Seol-ah for the gesture, but Seol-ah commented that it wasn't a big deal, as she did it to enhance Kim's beauty even more. Kim thought Seol-ah had the wrong idea about her and believed she was a good person. However, when they both saw Choi walking in the distance and Kim was about to speak to him, Seol-ah asked her to wait a minute. She remembered what had happened that morning when she spoke to Choi at the main hall's door and knew something about him, which unsettled Kim a little. Seol-ah turned to Kim, grabbing her arm to make her follow her for a moment, despite Kim asking her to wait a moment. Some girls had noticed everything earlier. In the women's restroom, Seol-ah cornered Kim, asking if she had something to say to her, which made Kim nervous. In her thoughts, Kim believed they had already discovered what she had done with Choi. Kim didn't know how to explain herself, since Seol-ah's expression was quite intimidating. Just as she was about to say something, Seol-ah apologized, leaving Kim even more intrigued. Despite this, Seol-ah continued apologizing for all the lies she told during their group project. Internally, Kim felt relieved that it was just that. She assured Seol-ah not to worry since she was able to practice, and everything turned out fine in the end. However, for Seol-ah, it wasn't fine since Choi still hadn't accepted her apologies, and she wanted to apologize to the other members first. Before they could talk more, they were interrupted by Jinen and her friends. Jinen was upset with Seol-ah for not greeting her when she came in, something Seol-ah didn't respond to. Jinen then asked if Seol-ah was bothering Kim, to which Kim quickly denied. However, Seol-ah remarked that it wasn't any of Jinen's business whether or not she was bothering Kim, which infuriated Jinen and her friends. Jinen then suggested that Seol-ah was bothering Kim out of jealousy for being prettier than her. But Seol-ah knew that the ones truly jealous were others, which angered Jinen even more. When Jinin was about to yell at them, they heard noise outside the bathroom, so they decided to leave to avoid trouble and not ruin their image. However, Kim was quite puzzled by the situation and also asked Seol-ah why she had done all that. Seol-ah knew that Jinin constantly looked for fights because she didn't like her, and fortunately, they were together to prevent Jinin and her friends from bothering Kim. Kim also knew that Seol-ah was very popular, which made many guys approach her, but at the same time, she felt Seol-ah didn't have a true friend. At that moment, Seol-ah caressed Kim's face with her hand, telling her she was truly beautiful, and that it was for that very reason people bothered her without any reason. She advised Kim to start being as bold as she was to face such situations. As they left the university, the two walked together. Seol-ah hoped it wouldn't bother Kim, as she had been the center of attention lately, but for Kim, it wasn't a problem. However, Seol-ah made a comment about Kim's beautiful skin and asked if she used any makeup for it, though Kim was only wearing blush. For Seol-ah, it was a good opportunity to highlight a diamond in the rough, though Kim didn't understand what she meant. Before saying goodbye, Seol-ah wanted Kim to give her phone number, something unusual for Kim since they were in the same group and should already have it. Still, Kim ended up giving it to her, making Seol-ah happy. The latter suggested going shopping after exams to pick something nice for Kim, who appreciated the gesture. Kim was thinking about how Seol-ah was someone cool and a good person, which led her to understand why Choi and Seol-ah got along so well. However, she felt a little bad about what she and Choi had done that afternoon. When Seol-ah asked if there was a problem, Kim said it was nothing. Choi had noticed how the girls were talking and wondered since when Seol-ah and Kim got along so well, but he decided not to think about it anymore and focus on his exams. A few days later, Choi was quite depressed because the exam he had was difficult, and he hadn't been able to study much. At that moment, a voice spoke to him, and when he turned around, it was Yumin, who recognized him more by his usual reactions. Although she invited him to have a drink, Choi knew she was referring to a party through their group chat. Since he felt a bit out of place in such settings, he didn't usually attend. But Yumin was feeling down because she wanted to have fun before the exams were due. Choi understood her situation, and that's why Yumin insisted he go to accompany her, which he agreed to after thinking about it for a moment since he knew he had nothing to lose by going. That night at the bar, the place was packed with people, but despite the lively conversations, Choi felt he didn't quite fit into that environment. At that moment, his classmates blushed upon seeing the charming Yumin arrive. Alongside her was Kim, who had also decided to attend the party. Both girls sat on either side of Choi, but Yumin showed particular curiosity about Kim, whom she didn't know. Kim timidly greeted Yumin, which caused some discomfort for Choi. Later, Yumin was impressed to discover that the girl was Kim, especially because she wasn't wearing her glasses, as she had lost them. Yumin genuinely appreciated Kim's beauty, particularly her large eyes. Choi was the only one to notice this and returned Kim's glasses to her, as he had picked them up when they fell. Kim thanked him for the gesture, although when their hands briefly touched, both Choi and Kim immediately blushed at the situation. Choi thought he still felt embarrassed about what had happened earlier. However, he noticed Yumin's gaze, which seemed concerned about how Choi interacted with his friends. Choi explained to Yumin that he preferred addressing her as senior, rather than by her name, as a sign of respect. Yumin, slightly confused, considered it nonsense, but Choi explained it was a matter of politeness. Still, she thought it was silly. Kim, observing their behavior, thought they were simply acquaintances, but now understood they were quite close. Yumin hugged Kim and asked Choi to call her by her name, while she would refer to him as Oppa, without any hesitation. Both began addressing each other as Yumin suggested, though it also embarrassed them a little. Despite that, Yumin was very happy they did it, and decided to kick off the party that very night. Yumin served drinks to her juniors, and one of them asked Choi to stop her because of how insistent she was. Choi admired Yumin because she remained the same, being the center of attention and creating a good atmosphere for everyone. Yumin was very persistent with the juniors around her. Choi noticed that Yumin acted like a puppy when she wasn't fully aware of herself. However, he also saw that Kim kept serving her drinks. She asked Choi to drink in moderation, which he agreed to. When his glass was empty, Kim served him more and repeated her earlier words. Choi realized Kim was a little tipsy, but she tried to repeat her words, even though she was mixing them up. Choi asked everyone if someone had made Kim drink too much, but no one had given her more juice. Choi then realized Kim couldn't handle juice well. At that moment, Kim took off her sweater because of the heat, impressing everyone with her unparalleled beauty. Choi told Kim he would only drink soda to help her calm down. Kim asked why, hugging him, which embarrassed Choi, who couldn't give a good explanation and felt the jealous stares of the guys around them. Choi noticed that when Kim wasn't fully herself, she seemed like a sweet lamb, though that wasn't always the case. At that moment, something touched Choi, and Kim also noticed his expression. When she asked if something was wrong, Choi said it was nothing. Suddenly, Choi turned to look at Yumin, who was tapping his foot with hers. He wondered what the crazy Yumin was doing. She explained that she also had to take care of her friends, though Choi knew she had just been giving juice to one of her juniors. This made Yumin think Choi was jealous, and that she wanted to do the same with him, though that wasn't the case. Meanwhile, Kim also expressed her desire for something else to drink, which made the situation quite stressful for Choi, especially with all the jealous guys around, seeing him with two beautiful girls and lamenting that Seol-ah was their only remaining option. During the conversation, it was mentioned that Seol-ah couldn't attend the gathering, which disappointed some. Choi felt puzzled by Seol-ah's absence, while Kim seemed uneasy about that information. Despite everything, Choi decided it was time to go to the bathroom. In the restroom, Choi felt exhausted, and a voice that understood his weariness surprised him. Turning around in confusion to identify it, he realized it was Kim, who was there wanting to talk to him about something important.